Going live, it says. Hello, species value nature system. Dear Link TV, Penn State professor. So I didn't catch the names, and a woman, I believe from Canada, and in the Olympics, and the Olympic women, and women in general. Of course, it is recorded how free speech was prevented in relationship to, it is prevented since founding per a racketeering method using each identity of the ground location. Using identities, but also pretending to be in four identities at the same time. With the people who wear accounts, where our fact sheet nature. See, that's where, and you guys, this is where, like, in other words, you guys are making mistakes that you don't realize, and but some also people do, and that's being, in other words, that's being maintained. Every group, in other words, black. When they force that with the law, it's easy to discern the law is criminally foreign influenced, is delusions raw, and worse. So in other words, these are logistical. That means simultaneously, you could see also, originally still unrelented, racketeering involved, and branches of government individually grouped and together. But this is states and areas forcing presidents to be a role of that. And they're having to have differences in relationship to fact sheet nature, where nations are grouped. For example, our nation, former director of the F.B.I, Robert Luskin, down. He would not have been allowed, for example, his roles racketeering with other agencies, with uses of my grammar school then and now, with a whole bunch of people directly and indirectly involved with him and his co-defendants in a 2006 case, and in the Trade Center attack in the Ninth Circuit leading up to it, and in it and out of it, and with people associated with the Trade Center right before the Trade Center attack. And then they also presented post-dated documents where they were involved with a whole bunch of sequences too, recorded more. Nature roles for even switching names, forging names, with people that are pretending not to realize too how confessions are being used distinctly and non-distinctly, how each identity of the ground, like the locations of churches, on and off it. Now you have two different kind of groups. You have the investigators of things in the furtherance of them, like child trafficking, human trafficking. WFSB is in recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with human trafficking, with people associated with Newtown / Sandy Hook has a prison there that is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering roles of other natures with the family members of, and with the associates and people policing of the schools of a principal sex offender, and of other campuses in each town, intercities tied, because these child campuses are being, that was motivated to them needing to hide life aggressions for their criminal uses of CCSU and of Trinity College. Not just per the roles with it that the people, since I was a kid, they were confessing, demonstrating, and recording how simultaneously the courts were manipulating people to pretend to act out or to influence things, and to simultaneously everyone's, their families, everyone influenced by overt criminal enterprises and private ones. Whole bunch of foreign and domestic medical racketeering that is legalized still criminally. It can't defend itself as liars, but without relying upon, not by accident, branches of government already themselves criminal fact sheet nature value, originally still. With delusions wrought and crime methods pretending other offensively. So they need people, not, in other words, these are victims who's saying, oh, we're saying all the right things though. It's for white women rights. It comes down to the finite, active and the progressive at the same time. It comes down to sequence true though. It comes down to identity true though. Because identity, this is about volume science. It's not about, this is all about only what is true always, not denying any exceptions. See, because that is being used for when right now, and it's been since founding, pounding drums, people need to demonstrate how sequence racketeering is involved, how the order to the finite, order to the active, order to the progressive, and real identity racketeering, that we have to count, otherwise everyone's wrong, and that's what was valued. where this is a values-based system. In other words, economics that are through contrast are the tool of a breaching racketeering method using human fact-sheeting nature. I'm not a lawyer. Lawyers also recorded, confessed, demonstrated how they're involved with this. See, now what had that themselves as database relationships, evaluations of the ground. The second, every time they say we're free, they are worse than a breaching screen and tool of the racketeering method that has logistics of people on a mass scale. Look at New York City, where Jay-Z reportedly came from. I don't know. You can't believe the news because they're involved with human trafficking. And with the Justice Department, Washington, D.C. Trade Center rolls with private like prisons, also shared military, racketeering, foreign and domestic, all kinds of medical racketeering. That's why they're drugging people in prisons each day. They have a whole bunch of foreign and domestic doctors involved with a whole bunch of courts with human trafficking through their roles as knaves with using the ability to lock people in positions and then attach them with fake words, fake and pretend they say things they don't, pretend conversations, fake, forge names, hold detailed fake conversations with me and a Leahy family I never had a conversation with. They're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with these courts in state, people on and off the state judicial branch offices, and further involved with the campuses in town and all the campuses, how they've connected too. They're using human fact-sheeting nature for racketeering. This is not about personal things. They need to pretend it's about personal things again, because if you're listening to what I'm saying, they are what is recorded. They have live progressions because the branches of government have been needing to hide from and keep each age of fact-sheeting nature hurt. They tell them the lies through their own kids that are pretended legal, but they never were. This is former director of the F.B.I, Robert Luskin, also involved with sequence shifts that show evidence racketeering that is where they have it legal, they're exploiting exceptions, again, tied to logistical impositions. We have logistical fracture. You're not allowed to speak free speech unless you're going to make a theory. You know, you're not allowed to defend yourself from them forging names, switching names, pretending police equipment records no other, and putting people into quotes with their family members, interbranch with racketeering uses in and out of New Britain Superior Court by the Mendez police. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering roles and uses of on and off the Wethersfield police department and fire departments with a whole bunch of people tied to them too. I don't know at all, and barely know, and only in context they can't be honest about, again, because the branches of government were involved with their confessions, demonstrations of racketeering, and overt criminal enterprises and private ones. And with this racketeering method, with exploiting the theater where you're not going to see people. This is lying to everyone by people. In other words, we have a breaching left by our founders to demonstrate how they're doing this with database, touching everyone's identity stolen, and they're pretending they're forcing people to group so they can pretend passions and emotions dishonestly with sequence shift roles. They're preventing free speech by forging names and switching names of police officers, using that for worse than extortion, torture, and worse than free speech thefts. This is serious. There are various natures of courts. Connecticut District Court. All these people tied to House/S in my area also involved with a whole bunch of other FBI, CIA, and their family members, state police, and their kids. Involved racketeering uses of CCSU again through time with the child campuses in my town too. Shows as the people also tied to racketeering uses of on and off locations of other schools with the same people we use for that. By the same people use the courts criminally for that. All my sources are recorded, confessed, demonstrated. They also confirm this. Eric Burgess recorded, confessed, demonstrated a whole bunch of people from my town involved with them in Rocky Hill, involved with state police, foreign and domestic military racketeering with them. On and off CCSU. I never saw him on the campus of CCSU in my life. Other military families involved with racketeering with them, and uses of CNN to pretend they're against Confederate flag, KKK themes when that's involved with the roles with the natures of human trafficking that connect to the other natures of crime, and also as live progression cover-ups that start with grammar school for what there are juxtaposed natures of child abuse, juxtaposed because they have the motivations, nature need. They have roles with this influence from off campuses in sustained ways on off campuses. Now we have a whole bunch of masses of doctors and their family members involved with racketeering, leading up to and in the Trade Center attack, leading up to and in every case. So they're stuck. Yo, mother. Oh, excuse me, woman. This is how we free speech. So we have an officer Poission recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also involved with this, and the witness protection program, all with the same house/S. And this is not just because things people say. This is actually recorded. This is also the foreign and domestic maintenance to them, uses of statutes, the uses of the statutes in ways where they're hiding exceptions to the law. They're pretending people are making overall allegations and having conspiracy theories every day, and already had done that, and they need to hide that by their roles, lying through kids, attaching kids to fake ties to, and attaching their family members to fake locations, fake ties to other people. They also did this with and as the people involved with the racketeering leading up to and in the Trade Center attack context. And the Ninth Circuit right next to it, right before the attack, as people from Connecticut, interbranch, on and off the state judicial branch offices, on and off the prison offices, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated a whole bunch of natures of racketeering uses of two speech class teachers I had in high school. And these are also people who recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with all kinds of natures of racketeering against everyone. And so, but you have to free individual speech. Now, what do you need when you're against free speech against every individual? You need to pretend you're against that by holding groups, that by holding fact cheating nature styles of liars that are hurt victim predators, because because we have formal victim predators. We have formal people needing to keep what is actually recorded, science actual, with not prevented free speech. So they are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated victim predators. This is what forgiveness is about. The victim predators with this for this racketeering method, with fact cheatments. Fact cheating nature, see criminal insidiousness nature. See, they need to pretend people are talking about the sequence shifts. I've been asking to report sequence shifts and a whole bunch of others mentioned racketeering and worse. And again, with the principal sex offenders campus, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with medical racketeering and interbranch and prison clicks and all that. Fire departments involved with racketeering through time with the CCSU, with Alina's Pizza, when places on Park Street, involved with the intelligence community, involved with racketeering, with overt criminal enterprises, private crime methods like wire crime, mail crimes, used to keep them criminally foreign influenced, the whole families. And you don't want your family member to get caught, or not by accident. You could just use the theater that they used the ground for through time to pretend to record things that they couldn't pretend on paper. They are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, for example, kept criminally foreign influence because they use crime methods like preventing people anything written when they know that, and they also confess and demonstrate they were involved with falsified police reports, the court in collusion with various natures of police forms from different towns who stack private and interbranch databases with fake things recorded. And that's really what the roles with human trafficking is about. And this is also them recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering with the police of the internet, and uses of Facebook pages of New Britain Superior Court with child sex offenders. Again, with other natures of courts, at Hartford courts. Again, these are people who had to do that because they had to attach the family. They had to hurt the ages of correlation nature, where other people's names are going to be used through the kids, and they already use the right to lie, for example, as a non-statute. That's not a statute. In other words, and where they have the right to lie, they exploit it all and exploited all exceptions. So we have obligation. Every modern nation has obligations to understand how economics, originally and still, were a part of what our founders left us to demonstrate how George Washington did not chop down the cherry tree, even though the fake branches of government especially if someone made that up, because this is about the Trinity, correlation nature. This is about predicate value. So this is about predicate act value, which is identity. So predicate acts have to be discerned. They have to be countered. The real causes of predicate acts, they knew that Native Americans A through Z would blame on other things, others, and on selves, and they sustained that. And then our founders were born, and they were going to go into the next phase, which they went into anyway. But our founders knew they were going to do that. But that's why they tried to give us free speech first. State scenarios were born criminally foreign influence. These is a pathology of zoning laws worse than semi-unsafe, again tied to this theater and to the tactically denatured relationship to nature, which is native pure, and identity of the grounds. Value treatment ties to our active body of value discernment. So you guys are wanting to start and keep overall first. You guys are preventing that from being demonstrated with active body of value discernment, because you guys are you're preventing free speech for the finite. No, individuals value a complete identity for this. And then what is temporary positive is in demonstration that it is also criminal and serious nature is temporary positive, and you can't legalize that. So if you're just want to say, okay, well, that's what it is, I just want to be part of it. Well, that's funded by the racketeering method that our American history is really about. So you guys are with passions and emotions, dishonest and vicious. So you're hurting real men, because we have women involved, women judges, black and white women judges involved with racketeering acts and roles with child offenders, of mail crime, wire crime roles, a whole bunch of natures and roles and uses of Mendez police, where they've been recording things into databases, attaching people to fake conversations and relationships to overt criminal enterprises, and to themselves and their families, and to the people involved, like this with this Joshua Julian, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated a whole bunch of people with New Britain Superior Court and with other courts have racketeering roles and uses of foreign and domestic medical racketeering, foreign and domestic military racketeering, with on and off WFSB locations, on and off Fox Connecticut News locations. This is with them with other police forms. Again, former director of the FBI down. The buildings next to them, Thaddeus Skarbowski, people tied to him. Two Domain brothers recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by their friends. They confirmed it. I don't know them. They're involved with racketeering with John Miano, with WFSB, and with New Britain Superior Court, and with Bob Chase. And those are also people involved with Houses/S in my area who are involved with them with racketeering uses of the state police through administrations, and with the transition from Acapulco to Rico and their families' roles with racketeering, with forensics cliques, and with body dumping spots, and with people with identity thefts and identity racketeering, worse, and mail crime, wild crime roles, and uses of a Soto family also as the people involved with the end of the Berlin Turnpike, and racketeering uses of CCSU, Trinity College, from off the campuses, all these police forms, all these people. They also train the leaderships of they also train the leaderships of prison stewardships, like private, tied to the branches of government, and that's a whole bunch of ways tied to a whole bunch of people on Church Street in Old Wethersfield, and all the way up from up that way through the towns up to CCSU, no on off it with Paul Manafort Drive, CCSU, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with the interbranch sources of CNN were involved with elections racketeering with Russians. And they're needing to pretend other by pretending not to realize that I've been trying to report that they're recorded, forging names, switching names, and racketeering roles and uses of databases since I was a kid with the same people, all from behind my back. Again, they're attaching me and little kids to fake locations and doing way worse with all that tied to the principal sex offenders campus, especially if they made that up, because New Britain Superior Court was involved with the sexual, medical, judicial, executive, racketeering, and these are foreign and domestic military, and private, like with psychology, with the policing of the stores. Boxing, applause, respond, follow mandate's course. Come on, come on. Stop hiding behind groups of tactically pseudo-educated groups. Only allowed, this is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated the identities of each age of campus with the connections and roles with the racketeering uses of that. And not bad for actually, I wanted to speak about economics when we have American histories about how economics, our value nature systems, tactically ulterior from the one that is perfect and worse than forsaken. They are recorded and involved with Russians and Americans are involved with uses of words like capitalism, socialism, and communism for a racketeering method that is fake sides of correlation nature. You are preventing you also forcing, how an aggression that then so they have burn it down. No target, and you guys are being recorded having been used to force child sex offenders, child medical offenders, same ones, the same cliques involved with the elderly homes, not by accident. This is the perfect world forsaken and valued that way, not by accident. That's a maintained outcome so they can maintain the all formal roles needed to highlight progressions, just valuing the way that it was set up right for them. Things to pretend. So, Michael Kerr Michael Kerr, a person who said his name is Jordan Brown, and the Moros, the Moro families recorded, a whole bunch of other people recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that Church Street in Old Wethersfield is involved with racketeering uses of the roots. But before they're involved with the people involved with the police forms and the interbranch family members with racketeering, they are first involved in military, overt. This is since founding. You can't pounding drum. You can't justify. They can't defend themselves without having all fakes, pretending they're all victims, reacting as what our roles as fact-cheating nature slaves, as identity theft roles, indifferent to how no one has free speech, while you guys are the only voice. So they need you guys to pretend you don't know how to speak, but in ways that are going to hurt people, because they're pretending. Then they need to pretend they're against that. At the same time, with the pretending we have misprision criminality, fake sides of that too. We have the evaluation of people used for sequence racketeering that shows that they're racketeering with uses of words / values like exculpatory evidences and like inculpatory evidences simultaneously criminally. See, that's what we have, the simultaneous nature that is the answer to all questions, answer / yes to all questions. It's the simultaneous, is what is simultaneously positive to what is sequence true. That is, and the order to the finite, and true, positive, and the order to what is active, positive, and the order to what is progressive, positive, and the order again to what is identity, positive. You guys again are being used to prevent individual free speech. This is so therefore science. So they made pseudosciences of sciences. So they have knowledge over correlation nature, over life's actual value nature system, that one which is inseparable from all other natures of identities of value. Even a rock is an identity. And it's only positive one way. You may pray. Free speech. So we have no, like, if someone needs to speak, and they also record it, have a whole bunch of crime methods and uses of Facebook, so they can pretend passions and emotions per their roles with the racketeering uses of the databases, uses of each identity, the ground location, private, other, every home. This is again the theater that was built by the racketeering method that that James Madison only foresaw means to preempt enough, otherwise forget about it. You wouldn't even have the surface that everyone you keep is still breaching, scream, preventing, pretending other free speech. So they need to pretend free speech, and debates about different sides about it is about what it's not. Get high. So that's why Facebook is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also involved with racketeering with WFSB, with New Britain Superior Court, and with Hartford courts. Again, leading up to a 2006 case, and before that, and with locations next to them. These are identity, the ground location. They attach me to and family members. They have an O'Neill lady who's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with sexual offenders on the registry. Their families involved with other natures of racketeering and uses of her with WFSB also. They said her daughter is involved with her roles also with recorded, confessed, and demonstrated to me and others. They have prosecutors and their kids they already used for racketeering. And because they had to pretend with the courts that they had conversations with me, and that I had conversations was in places since I was a kid that I never was in. I had ties to people I never did. Like a Joshua Julian also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with child sex offenders and roles with Facebook with his identity thefts, attaching me to fake natures of relationship to him and locations with him, forging him, switching him, switching with things he says, then admitting it, and then on Facebook, then denying it again. Then, in other words, and he's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering roles with a whole bunch of people tied to the corner of the Samuel Dick's house, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with medical racketeering and with database racketeering and with these Mendez police that attach me to fake recorded words and fake conversation with them by implied by that with this Janito Mendez. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a whole bunch of other interbranch and worse involved with racketeering uses of each age of fact cheating nature, further that uses of database racketeering and uses of programs like DACA programs manifest that are like invisible, even if you're parts of it, like marketing. So it's deeper than that. These are like a whole bunch of Mike Roberts, Mike Pandolf, Mike Kerr, Jerry Kerr. But in other words, these guys have brothers too. A whole bunch of Mikes, Mike Delafera, near that, like associated with locations like one around the Samuel Dick's house, involved with the racketeering on and off the high school with WTNH, people tied to WTNH, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. A whole bunch of brothers of his, I don't know the names of two. These are also people I never had a conversation with, never was around, never had anything to do with. Walked by him one time, two times. Lance Cuddy. He's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with racketeering on and off the state prison offices and on and off this Lena's Pizza with human trafficking roles and with undercover pretended legalized. And these are also medical racketeering roles with locations around them and next to a school there. Also with foreign and domestic military racketeering with the Eric Burgess recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with the house next to the school involved with that, involved with judges with racketeering uses of their courts in Hartford and in New Britain, and as racketeering roles in uses of Trinity College and of CCSU, leading up to the Trade Center attack and leading up to in the Ninth Circuit roles with that, with more worse, and which was right before the Trade Center attack. And then since it, leading up to a 2006 case, they had racketeering roles with that. And then since it, and leading, other cases too. They also have recorded, confessed, demonstrated by a whole bunch of people my whole life from involved with it. They have recorded criminal uses of depositions, which are from outsides of courts usually. And then that was former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, in his defendant capacities, with also with a whole bunch of people as and tied to their family members associated with the house / SMI area involved with the human trafficking with WFSB and with this and with these justice systems to pretending to be against what they're for. There's also a Dr. Phillips with CCSU recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with this. And see, I never had a class with her. She's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. But this is so she's a victim. But in other words, she's a victim predator per um there's a detective Samuda who's also involved with them with racketeering uses of CCSU. And you saw my name. He's an officer who pretended that he was an arresting officer of me with officers from East Hartford and from my town and private officers that switch names and identities. They switch names and identity with CCSU. Now they were involved with racketeering acts and uses of the place before that, but they've been you also. I didn't understand at the time they have how they've been using the branch of the government individually grouped and together with crime methods also recorded originally still. Now you can only see this when you try to report things that are true all ways and not denying any exceptions. And this is where they're pretending people have conspiracy theories and they're valuing all victim predators like pretending they know how to speak because they were trained to speak wrong. But this is from off campuses maintained originally and still identities of campuses. I use it when you're in a school with someone, you're forced from that value increases, even if you don't know that person. That's one of the reasons we shouldn't be forcing that to be valued by people who are criminal serious natures, originally still roles with branches as criminal serious natures, self-recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They know this. They're also when you say that, and if they try to deny it, they can't help but demonstrate physical delusions and criminally foreign influence premises treatments and sequence treatments, and how they are forced to value that. So that's why the counters to the overtly sick responses like with nuclear weapons and wars and armies and guns and things. While we're in it, the real causes of negative value nature progressions action is because the native system's gone. Now, so we're also going to have to bring health to a system that we're because these are criminal serious nature systems again self-value. So we have a whole bunch of natures of health and of logic that can't be taught because we don't have free speech. And because we have like say for example, people don't even realize um all that space. There's space where they have where with the ER emergency room where you have to go of emergency now, and then they have mental experts who are involved with all kinds of natures of racketeering, even preemptively, because originally and still those positions were tools in collusion with branches of government individually grouped and together having to keep live progressions in. A whole bunch of people with the symbol Dix House also involved with racketeering distinctly and non-distinctly uses of Wesleyan College, for example, and of that place on the water. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering uses again of each of the media. And so they're also recorded, the media recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they're indifferent to using terms like journalism and like science for racketeering the same way they were indifferent to it originally and still how when you wouldn't let uses of color you demonstrated. See, they have what are logistical pseudoscience self-valued and exploited. And see what does that though? And what makes it worse is this racketeering method exploits it further because it already did exploit it further, and it just keeps the volume valued as criminal insidious nature as overall convictions but we're for women's rights. So you should shut up. We can't speak for what our own women. We can't speak for our own little girls because they left each age of fact, cheaping nature forsaken, where everyone has to go to work. Everyone, again, tied to this theater. All exceptions, if we can note them, they already have a means to have that prevented. So that's why we have mandated law, but we don't have the law followed because we already have judges invested. See, I'm telling the president not to put on about if you're from this country or not. This is a racketeering method. We're here and there. They're fake sides and they self-value here and there. especially with psychology private, but interbranch individually, each branch, and then each individual grouped and all together of each branch of government. Every nation, these branches of government are manifest, a value manifest. I tell it best, Foxct. They lied about the integrity. It's not you. Oh, evolution's about Charles Darwin. Evolution's about science. And it's an identity of relationship to itself, which is native pure. And this is tactically denatured. Doesn't matter if you're Native American or not, it's native pure. What evolves. Really. Not on the top of other people as a breaching screen and tool and roll. Oh, so that needs to be contrast. In Russia, it needs to be the Russian justice system is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with racketeering methods, roles against their own, as are and against our own, with a whole bunch of other nations with psychology. Again, with conspiracy theories against people trying to tell about what is true always. Again, the branches of government individually grouped and together. They're pretending recorded things faked into databases. They were raised before they were in those positions categorically to pretend they had conversations and me in locations, and were in me tied to me in locations that never were. All exceptions criminally exploited. Now, there's a Ray Reynolds also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated he was abused by this, but it's medical racket. I don't know him. I don't know if it was I'm not saying it was sexual. I'm saying he's involved with medical racketeering. I don't know him, but he's also involved with medical racketeering with people with connections to the schools, like people with a Robert Schedule, Joe DeMoro, a Kerr family. A whole bunch of people said Rob Schedule and themselves are involved with racketeering with uses of mobile gas station, with foreign and domestic, and with interbranch like prison cliques and New Britain Superior Court, other courts. And I later found out it's people on off the state judicial branch offices, a whole bunch of people on off Two Route Highway associated with a Victorian house, associated racketeering. I don't know their names. Associated with the Phil Collo and with the Scalora family, with racketeering, with human trafficking. Again, with agencies, foreign and domestic, private. Get them done. Boxing is fun. Now have them pick one name in sequence because they forged names and switched names, and they use confessions interbranch distinctly and non-distinctly, individually grouped and together distinctly, non-distinctly, with a whole identity together, because they know we have to say that's a value because it is. We can't help but be. See, that's a fact cheat nature racketeering tool, though. By the breaching racketeering method that is preventing free speech regarding the actual logistical impositions upon each age of fact sheet nature, each difference. This is the course of difference clear in true all ways, but one. Boxing of fun alone. The sciences share their identity. We don't have to agree about the name of it. We're not supposed to agree about the name of it. No, we're not the science of discerning it and its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that, because it will only fill invisible but still discernible. The 5/3 natures distinctly and non-distinctly, we have control over the relationship they have to themselves, which has a relationship to us, which is as temporary positive, as more and more unceasing being made, positive or negative, but through a course here conditioned, not just conditioned. This is where invisible is still discernible. Again, the order to the finite is still discernible here, where it's the subject and the verb. Anything, a rock. I don't have to make a fist. I could just say a rock, and this is invisible but still discernible value. And this is, again, as we see the science, algebraic consciousness is clear. See means appear, Foxct. So please respond for your branches of government and for the news. Again, also see they're involved with the WFSB and Fox Connecticut News and a whole bunch of people on police forums. They're recorded, confessed, demonstrated, involved with racketeering uses of the locations next to them too. And indifferent as the campuses are, but and then they get kids mad at the campuses, but it's the it's from off the it's the what they call quote unquote the intelligence community unquote. They look around, see suit and ties, see counters to it, all saying there are the five pillars of Islam, and the Trinity is as much as cipher. I mean, it's deciphered as it is cipher. Like, for example, the beginning of the Old Testament, which says all you have to understand is this part right here about science. What right before they start talking about what is in the generation of Adam and Eve, and those weird spellings of the names. This is about This is about temporary / lasting positive. The difference between temporary positive, that is a quality making more and more what can't be more and more forever nature, that is positive to a little bit more. In other words, we're forever nature is positive. Where heaven and hell came from this. Our relationship to the identity that causes inventions to work or not. That causes them to be valued to progressively or not just to some dude, to some group, but to everyone. That's evolution uses the ground too. Not for a group or for majority. See, they have equality used as a measurement tool. This is like with like the devil has the proverbial devil has a nervous system, and this is a fact-cheating nature racketeering. So they need states and areas need overall their Olympic athletes pretending to be about group rights righteously when they're not. That the reason they're not is because they're still in collusion with economics that are criminally foreign influenced. Simultaneously, tool effectively having kept self-value counters to things like wars and like that with paper, pen, pad, and pen, with fact-cheating nature of value, with sequence treatments, still racketeering roles. So they couldn't charge what did that right because nature's individually grouped and together here and there. Not one modern nation is anything but an identity of negative value, nature, progression, self-value. All victims, but all victim predators, but not by accident. For this racketeering method effectively having been kept to blame other things, others themselves, for the real causes of negative value, nature, progressions, acts, and natures. Acts like predicate acts. Natures like criminal insidiousness natures, wrongdoers, wrongdoing. That's what's making everyone so. That's no people, especially successful people, wouldn't be so angry if we had individual rights free, if we had science free, if we didn't have to fight about science with and as quality of fake science. No, that's the subject. That's recorded. They here and there they value how they can just pretend someone has conspiracy theories when this is recorded true always. They even reported on Russian spy den, even if they made it up, especially if they made it up. They're in collusion. This is their inclusion with human trafficking, child sex, other natures of racketeering roles involved with the child offender families. Again, as a principal involved with it. Again, a whole bunch of people with various natures of departments, SCCSU, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated having been influenced to interactions with and around me so they can pretend to perceive things tied to their roles and with racketeering uses of databases when I was a kid. Their roles recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with racketeering that was shared by nations self-valuing, shared policing of economic positions originally and still, breaching employed, breaching screen employed, not just for those locations like the branches of government too, but live progressions from there. Each area needing to self-value each age of correlation nature hurt because everyone's fake side and self-value, not by accident. These values course. They need everyone to push value force. Boxings, I'll drop the force, fake sides. Hey, here I'll tell you a course. You tribes. See, what is the value of man and woman simultaneously forsaken? This is not. These are cities that are incapable of pretending you're about freedom and about women's rights at the same time. You can't. That's forsaken. We know in the back of our minds, so it should be up front. I never let go of it. Second I heard about cities, and that's the only reason people see not the only reason, but this is tactically denatured relationship to nature as suburbs, only capable of causing negative value nature progressions, acts of nature. Again, blame the other things and others themselves, not by accident. That built styles of liars pretending other, valuing what really is involved with each age of fact, treating nature simultaneously exploited. Worse than exploited. These are perfected crime methods with the mind and with the identity from off campuses used to keep them valuing on campuses racketeering acts for a method and motivations and means to it that everyone's self-valuing because they're going to the jobs of law, the jobs of science, not law. Then the styles of liars. That we never had logic scores. It's clear. It's here. Boxings. I tell you things. Who disbelieves? Pick one name in sequence too, and pick one spelling of your name, and know how they have people who share names and speaking nicknames. All different. Even men and women sharing the name Bobby. Record involved racketeering, uses of state police, and locations next to WFSB involved with the racketeering here. Also, leasing agents recorded, confessed, and demonstrated intercities involved with the human trafficking and with this Phil Colo and with his families, with the Scalora family, also with forensics locations. And again, body dumping spots, legal and criminal, involved with them with racketeering uses of those locations, all the identity ground locations. And I never saw that kid in my area one time when I was growing up. Phil Colo, the cousin of the people that moved in when I was in fourth grade. Recorded, confessed, demonstrated also with the O'Brien family involved with the CCSU racketeering uses of the departments. The educational department is also involved with him with other families, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with other principals, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated further involved with the racketeering acts that forced the principal sex offender who got caught anyway for way worse than they were involved with. And still, because they're pretending things. So you can't call the police. They're recorded criminally with crime methods preventing that. And you can't go in there. They're forged names, switch names. They have all kinds of racketeering uses of the Wethersfield Police Department. They have too much to hide already. Because again, the racketeering uses of each age of fact, treating age are actually recorded. Now we have to see how they're pretending things recorded into databases. That's why you have to pull them to one name in sequence and one spelling of each name, like K-N-E-R-R and K-E-R-R. And these are people involved with the Joshua Julian, also with the Facebook page of the Britain Superior Court. From inside the court and from outside the court, it's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering, with uses of a Joshua Julian and of this Kerr family. People from inside the court and from outside the court recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering uses of a Kerr family as people involved with Church Street, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering uses of real estate companies, with the judges involved with the racketeering uses of Park Street with them, and this Lena's Pizza, and people on and off the campuses, and with the training of everyone used to keep actual roles really what's furthering their work criminal enterprises. Like Los Solitos also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with human trafficking, child sex offenders, with the judges involved with them, also with police firms from my town involved with identity thefts, fake locations, human trafficking with WFSB, on and off Fox Connecticut News, racketeering roles with this Thaddeus Grabowski and with Allison. I don't know her name. I never had anything to do with her. People they have like someone who lives someone who's on the other side of the school, but they're in it like they're in a grade below you. You don't even hang around with them. But my neighbor is involved with, again, racketeering through time with the intelligence community with this O'Brien family. Also with a whole bunch of people from Sandy Hook, Newtown involved racketeering with kids and with the uses of the congressional building. And these are people with Russian families, also with a Leahy family with drugs racketeering, private and gang drugs, and with various natures of courts involved with racketeering acts and methods with him. Fake conversations with me, fake ties to me. Also has a whole bunch of people next to the Samuel Dick's house, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with them on and off the campuses in town, with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering, a whole bunch of natures of kinds of drugs, crimes, roles with the kids. Now, as adults, needing to pretend I was in places with them, having been offensively, tying me to fake conversations with them, people I never saw in my life, like barely, so, and categorically online on Facebook. Then they take your account because they lock in what they need to pretend to perceive, which is also they're preventing free speech since I was a kid by these crime methods, forging names, switching names, preventing means to counter it. They're making confessions right through little kids about the recorded roles, racketeering here and there, where they have overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and shared policing, self-valuing that with their uses of identity the ground locations, like the construction sites, which is hard work. Now, see, this is roles with economics and with arguments with, or not arguments, with negotiations with bosses and things like that take manifest styles of logic that can only compare, and those comparisons are used for racketeering against anyone with integrity. That's going to be and that can only be, those are styles of logic that can only self-value the Constitution unabridged. See, we're supposed to defend the surface values of the Constitution unabridged simultaneously too. Boxing comes through. Boxing. So we have women incapable of being countered for their roles with how they keep each age of boys and girls raised as fakes, as the people, and also using the crime method of calling other people liars offensively. That implies you had a conversation with the people. No, that implies they don't realize their roles with the racketeering on and off campus is connected. No, all the confessions tied to it. These are confessions that, in other words, judges pretend and people associated with courts pretend that they're influencing people alone. They're consciously self-valuing how their criminally foreign influence distinctly and non-distinctly with the areas and the people they're using already too, needing to hide the same lies with them because their families roles with overt criminal enterprises, other uses of them for the mail crime, wire crimes, forging names, switching names, pretending things were recorded, like these Mendez police, involve racketeering with cases where they do tricks. They criminal uses, both their criminal uses of the judicial branch and of campuses with their involvements with the policing of them through time involved, also recorded, confessed with people with the intelligence community, foreign and domestic, tied to Stop and Shops, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated foreign and domestic military. Kovinski's family, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the racketeering uses of CCSU. I never saw him on that campus in my life. Never had a class with him. I only know him from confessions. to know, and barely know him. Also, Mike Violet, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with them with racketeering with people like this DeMoro family on off Hartford Hospital locations, involved with the racketeering next to the schools, like Trinity College also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated their databases were used for racketeering and the identities of their professors, and with their roles with forging names, switching names, putting fake letter, and then especially if he made his death up, because that was used to lock it in. Hugh Ogden. This is also the recorded confessed roles with an on-off Trinity College untimely death, and I mean deaths plural, connected with my new and past neighbors. Also with the Dillon family. This is through time. I never had a conversation in my life. He makes confessions to other people, then he demonstrates it. So now he's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering with a Leahy family and with foreign and domestic medical racketeering and military. This is Sean Dillon, Aaron Dillon, also with him and with the judges involved with racketeering with my new and past neighbors, uses of their everyone to prevent me free speech in a sustained way. Also, the racketeering uses of Park Street and of Lena's Pizza with the Trade Center pattern of racketeering and confessions leading up to it and in the context. And since it, they've been recorded criminally hiding. Also, people, again, recording themselves, record fake things in the databases through time. Again, I just remind these are people with a whole bunch of this is with a whole bunch of the co-defendants of former director of the FBI with the criminal uses of those cases and other natures of racketeering associated with all sides of that. For the people that don't even realize it, because they're just putting everyone to fake location, fake recorded things, and they're forging names, switching names with the judges. So you could see how too, they're worse than incompetent when it comes to when they say we're free and they know in the back of their minds, and or especially if they don't realize, how could you not realize? We have those people stacking. We have this pathology of infrastructure that was forced since before cars, and it's still glorified, tactically denatured relationship to native means, and build a stream just for the poisons and stuff. You want to care about your kids. Don't leave them in economic systems that are criminally foreign influenced and delusions raw. That's and you can't. You can use that as a proof that that in other words, but that people are forsaken with logistical impositions. But and you can use it, but the comparison they're not. The comparison, this is sickly distinctly every area hurt, specifically to keep how sickly non-distinctly from being discerned. It is the same organized crime racketeering method we have to counter, which is a whole bunch of styles of liars bonded, self-valuing the human value nature of volume as criminal insidious nature, as styles of liars pretending other, needed to get away with it, valuing that precedents criminally foreign influence, valuing statutes criminally foreign influence, valuing them having been exploited that way originally and still. Religion fell. So we have criminals victim predators. We have this. Forgiveness is for this. It's about a racketeering. It's about the laws forsaken science. It's about the identity the science is shared. We're not supposed to agree about the name of it. We're supposed to agree there's correlation nature. There's a trinity. It's demonstrable. And it's increasing value with two more semi-natures too. Because that's how it's self-generating. Work can only stay complete. That's why all the complete natures, identities of value of our body are simultaneously semi-nature relationship to each person's complete identity. And we are only temporary positive this way. For example, this is science. And this is tied to how and why simultaneously we are semi-nature grouped areas, sexes, ages, and species as natural volume. I'm not just saying this because it explains things good. I'm saying this because I'm trying to show to the point to what is connecting the three semi-natures and the five semi-natures distinctly and non-distinctly. And because this racketeering method is exploiting that simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship it has to all parts of space nature, like English grammar. To answer the questions properly about it, for example, it's a natural volume. And it shares this identity onto and as the value of all parts of space nature, which is a semi-nature. See how it's semi-matter, semi-air. So we have the invisible, and everything is in demonstration to one identity that's invisible, but still discernible value progression perfect. See how an identity is a gaining nature value, not just to ourselves. Not sure I don't have any kids. Part of the reason I don't have kids, I've been extorted. Not extorted, not just extorted. They want to make it one thing. I've been pseudo helped out. I have people that gave me sources and information, knowledge. These are criminal uses of knowledge. Other than they use knowledge always criminally, but I'm talking about the branch of science. Another use of knowledge, which they need to do, because they consciously need to keep since the semi-ancient times of modern religion, since semi-ancient times before that, sciences had already become criminally foreign influenced, and that already affected the long words of the state, the sciences of the states and areas. Native pure originally revealed to and as the value of a shared system before criminal understanding that and how one identity of value progression is in demonstration to us this way. It is self-generating by the way it is distinctly and non-distinctly semi-nature as one identity of value progression. So forever nature's course is means in here. Some means appear. Oh, read the Santa Claus, Republic bow. Fake branches fall. Build wall. This is body of value discernment. Why we need walls around our houses. Bodies. All right. I'm scared. Okay. Thank you for calling out this evening. So please, someone respond for your branches of government and pick one name in sequence. I have to say that I don't mean to be aggressive. I mean to, because that's what they're doing. When you see aggression online, the experts of logic already need to hide their styles of lying, their racketeering uses of elections locations, all identity the ground locations. Now, see, when it comes times to follow mandated law, someone needs to report specific sequence shifts in identity. I mean, human trafficking acts like WFSB. And they're actually recorded motives to pretend this is a crime method that kept and keeps everyone needed to get caught for crimes. Needed, in other words, because they need to pretend passions, emotions, and motivations other than actual states and areas. That's how sick it is when you deny free speech and you pretend to be it still. Religion filled. Someone please, someone can't give $1 million to like even one. This is what I want to do. You guys pay a lot of money for spokespeople. Can you have one that's animate? Like I'll give it to you and he'll guide, and I'll use my so I have to give like where there are overtly forsaken with huge people stacking in New York City. Right now, I know we don't have means individually grouped in together to do anything proper. So what they do is fake, and that's worse because that's involved with keeping the real causes of that, and from it, valued blamed on other things, others themselves. And then that defended is a protraction of a style of criminal and serious natures that never could be criminally legalized, but they were. Our founders did not have free speech, and their identities were stolen for this database racketeering method. They're just going to say whatever you said. They were pretending you said things in the database because how they use the kids, because how they use the sequence racketeering with the perception of that, where they make the kids. They're controlling their sensibilities because they're not going to go telling on everyone as the same ones that are trying to tell on people. They're making things up too. All kinds of racketeering uses of a Mayor Gold and his family also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with human trafficking with these people. Iowa family, people on uses of park, on off Millwoods Park, on off the community center and the park next to it in Wethersfield through time. An Aiello family also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering roles with him and the DeMoro family. Now, see, he said switching things. He's also recorded and involved with the racketeering acts of WFSB, though. And Foxct Connecticut News recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they're being coached to hide it and their indifference to it. And they use also the private police of the building, the other police forms on off their building. And now note them right before where most of the shootings take place in Hartford, in the north end of Hartford. And then see all exceptions are tied to the same, to and as the same ones intercities. A whole bunch of people at Hartford Hospital recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering through roles with this Dillon family, with my new and past neighbors, again, with various natures of courts. Now, see, they need to talk about things out of sequence because they already and pretend they can't believe that people record things fake when they know it's true. A whole bunch of other nations are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by the DeMoro families intercities, involved with them with racketeering, with overt criminal enterprises through time, with a whole bunch of people on routes like South State Highway going into Hartford, right into straight into the Foxct Connecticut News. With the two Mendez police also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them with medical racketeering and with uses of a Hanson family with that, and which with the principal sex offenders campus roles, even though they're indirectly, and with a whole bunch of people on Church Street with a whole bunch various natures of departments at the campuses used criminally, and the family members of the people in the brand. So please respond. So they need to pretend overall allegations against people, originally and still needing to have science spoke. And when they sustain that in the record, the methods they do, they already have people around everyone who can't stand free speech with sequence true, the finite true, active true, progressive true, and identity true. Complete. Simultaneously, it's a semi-nature relationship to one complete entity's relationship to semi-nature again, simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly. It is semi-nature two ways. Who prays? It's time. We're supposed to figure this out. The campuses became criminally foreign influences before modern religions. Now we have fake sophistication then and now regarding what really revealed the republic for which it stands in its intercampus systems and all that tied to that. All rise, citizens arrest. I tell it best, boxing's right through administrations. Don't dare pretend you guys have the integrity. Don't keep doing it. Or pretend you can have an election now. You don't do it.